Okay, I will try to make the video that I made the other day with my new camera to see if the quality is better. And I have added the modification of the software to cut the parts of the video to make the transition more smooth. So I will just remake the same video, but hopefully it will be better. And you can give me your piece of advice. And the trick here was that the price to pay to contemplate beauty is very heavy. So yeah, but try to appreciate beauty as long as you can, because this is real beauty. Okay, so this is the process of what people call God in 3 parts. Die Wissenschaft, der Logik, the philosophy of nature, and the philosophy of spirit, or Geist. And I just want to know if I can make the transition smoother, so I will not comment very long, but the quality already I think is a little bit better. And here in blue, so I will simplify. So I will even try to improvise to see if it can work. So here now I will probably make a cut and you should see a new picture, and I see if I can download the video. So let us try. Okay, this is the broad view, Encyclopädie der Philosophischen Wissenschaften in 3 parts. Die Wissenschaft der Logik, which is the mind of God, so to speak. Zweiter Teil, Naturphilosophie, which is the philosophy of nature. And dritter Teil, which is the philosophy des Geistes. And in the brackets, you have the number of the paragraphs in the German edition. And here I will try to make another cut to see if it works. I will go get the book. Okay, so if my editing skill work, if my editing skill work, the video should start again here. So here you have the first part, the Wissenschaft der Logik, the shorter logic. Here you have the philosophy of nature, and here Die Philosophie des Geistes. So yeah, this is the process of what people call God. So in the brackets you have the paragraphs, and the first tile, so that's here, the Wissenschaft der Logik, which is kind of the mind of God, is divided in 3 Abteilungen, 3 divisions, and in total there are 9 divisions, because 3 Abteilungen in the erster Teil, zweiter Teil, dritter Teil, so 3 multiplied by 3 you get 9. So here you have 1 out of 9, 2 out of 9, 3 out of 9. The first Abteilung is die Lehre vom Sein, the doctrine of being. The second is die Lehre vom Wesen, the doctrine of the essence. And the third is the doctrine of the concept, der Begriff. And each Abteilung is subdivided in 3 chapters, sections, parts, subdivisions, whatever, Qualität, Quantität, das Maß. So put it very simply, to answer the question, what is being? If you fully answer the question, you say that being is determined and qualified and bestimmten by quality, quantity, and measure. Yeah, and in blue, you have the name of the theories, the doctrines, or the sciences, which we use in ordinary language to mention what Hegel is talking about. And here the numbers 1 out of 27, it's not in the encyclopedia, it's just to facilitate the grasping. Namely, if you follow the reasoning, you have, God the fucking damn it, 3 major parts: logic, nature, spirit. Within each part you have 3 division subsections, Abteilungen. So 3 multiplied by 3, that's 9. And in each Abteilung you have again 3 subdivisions. So you have 3 multiplied. So you have 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3, that's 27. That's just the formal structure. Hegel's philosophy is not numerology. It's not about manipulating numbers, but it facilitates the cognitive understanding. So, okay. Zweite Abteilung of die Wissenschaft der Logik. Das Wesen als Grund der Existenz, the essence as the ground or the foundation of existence, and this contains what we call metaphysics and the laws of thought of classical logic. The Erscheinung, which is the appearance or the phenomenon. Phenomenon is a Greek, it's a word derived from Greek. So here you have metaphysics and the categories of the empirical sciences. So the modern physicist, theoretical physicist, biologist, chemist, etc. So they say that they are not metaphysicians, but they use metaphysical categories constantly. The principle, the forces of physics, the forces and the manifestation, the phenomena, a whole and its parts, the relationship of causality, the chemical substances, unity, plurality, attraction, repulsion, extension, intensity, continuity. These are categories, and they use these categories constantly, because you cannot, if you think, you cannot help but use these categories, because they are the very structure not only of God's mind but of the human mind as well. But the question is, do they use these categories properly? That's another question. Then die Wirklichkeit, which is the actuality, which contains the categories like possibility, Wirklichkeit, which is actuality, Notwendigkeit, which is necessity, causality, action, reaction, etc., etc. Here you have, in the dritte Abteilung, the subjective concepts, logic, which is the formal, no, it's not the formal, that would contain what we would call formal classical logic. Then das Object, you have theoretical mechanics, chemistry, and teleology. This is how mechanics and chemistry emerge in the mind of God. I am not yet capable of explaining how, because this part is very difficult, but this is why nature is mechanically and chemically structured, because in the mind of God there are already mechanical relationships between the self-movement of the categories, one might say, and the concepts. And finally, the idea of life. So then again, life emerges in the mind of God. That's why life is a manifestation of the divine idea, and epistemology, which is the theory of knowledge. So now I will make a cut and to see if I can skip directly to the second part without much bothering moving the tables. I mean, I will do this, but it will not appear in the video. So how about a magic trick? Okay, the video should start now. So that's the zweite Teil, which is Die Naturphilosophie. So logic makes itself nature, exteriorizes itself. That's what the religions call the creation of the world, basically. So I will not go in full detail, but then again you have three Abteilungen, die Mechanik, which is mechanics, but not classical mechanics, so it's speculative mechanics. So that's the fourth part out of 9. Then you have die Physik, which is the fifth part, and then organische Physik, which is the sixth part, and each is again divided in 3. And you will find in ordinary language, in modern language, in the subdivision of the chapter about Raum und Zeit, which is space and time, you find what we call geometry, the theory of relativity, and classical mechanics. Here you have quantum physics, nuclear physics, and again mechanics, and that's matter and movement, finite mechanics. Absolute mechanics is the theory of gravitation, astronomy, and what we would call cosmology. So that's, one could say, spatial physics in a way. These are the fundamental determinations. So it's the structure of time and space and the celestial bodies in the universe, so to speak. In the zweite Abteilung, it's more concrete, because the philosophy of Hegel always goes from the abstract to the concrete, which means more determinations, more content. And here you have, God damn it, you have what we would call optics, namely the theory of light and electromagnetic waves, astronomy limited to the solar system, chemistry mixed with alchemy, climatology, geology, meteorology of mostly the Earth. Here again you have chemistry, alchemy, acoustics, which is the theory of sound, and the theory of heat and temperature and energy. Here in Die Physik der totalen Individualität, there is electromagnetism, optics, and chemistry, alchemy. And finally, for the philosophy of nature, in the organische Physik, the geological nature, the Earth is considered as an organism, as a living whole. This is the Weltseele, the world soul. And here you have again astronomy limited to the solar system. It's mostly the influence of the solar system and the planets and the waves, etc., on the life of the Earth. You have the geological, the mineralogy and geology of the Earth, the geography, the meteorology. So the question about climate change would take place, one might say, within this paradigm, so to speak, within this division. And here you have I don't know how to call this in English. Vegetabilische means plant organism, so to speak. So you have biology and botany or botanics, and here tierische Organismus, you have zoology mostly. So biology, zoology, anatomy, medicine, and physiology. So that is, broadly speaking, you can subdivide each determination much more. But these are the broadest, most general categories. So to answer the question, what is nature? Nature is geometrically determined, relativistic. It's time and space, the movement of matter within time and space, the celestial bodies, the laws of electromagnetism, acoustics, thermodynamics, etc., chemistry, and then because Geist, which is the consciousness of Dasein, one might say the consciousness of God, exists, has Dasein, but also exists as in getting out of the Grund on planet Earth. So that's why it's geocentered. Yeah. Okay. And now I will make another cut, and I will see if I can skip directly to the philosophy of. Okay, dritter Teil. So that's here, Philosophie des Geistes, and Geist in the system is what we call the soul, the consciousness, the mind, and the spirit, so to speak. So here you have the first Abteilung, der subjektive Geist. It is divided in anthropology, die Phänomenologie des Geistes, das Bewusstsein, which is the phenomenal appearance of Geist, which is consciousness, and then psychology. And in order to understand what Hegel talks about, you have to translate into modern language, and this would include just the theory of the soul, die Seele, would include what we would call climatology, astronomy, astrology, namely the relationship of the soul to the physical and chemical determinations of the planet Earth and how it is influenced by its position in the solar system. What we would call sociobiology, demographics, racial anthropology, evolutionary psychology. So to simplify, there is one world soul which is being particularized into various subgroups of humans. So there is one universal soul, but it is particularized into the various races. So that's why studying these categories enables to understand reality. Then you have aspects of psychology, anthropology, ethnography, the difference between the sexes, physiology and physiognomy, so the structure of the face and the structure, the features. Then again, a little bit of psychology. You have all the connections of the soul with the Weltseele or the cosmic presence or the divine, whatever. So you have what we would call ordinarily magic. In modern language, there would be also the psychoanalytical and psychiatric theory with the problems of the soul, the insanity that the soul sometimes suffers from. Then again, a little bit of psychology, socio-psychology, and psychoanthropology. So in order to understand one's soul, or anyone's soul, one has to understand how the soul, which inhabits the body and which is in connection with the body, is determined by all these aspects. And you cannot, I mean, you can choose randomly. So, for instance, you can study the psychology of any given individual in the sense of just the talent of this individual. But in order to understand an individual, you have to understand how this individual is determined by the climate, the position of the Earth relative to the solar system, its anthropological racial history, its personal psychology, the anthropological group in which he has grown up, his sexual characteristics, his psychoanalytical, psychiatric, psychological properties or characteristics and determinations, etc. And the totality of all these determinations is what constitutes the human soul. Here in the second division of Der subjektive Geist, you would have the theory of consciousness as described by neurobiology. You have a philosophical theory. You have the theory of desire, motives, domination, the search for recognition. So it's a mixture of psychology, already sociology, and also philosophy. So here it's one of the most complicated parts of Hegel's system, because there are mixtures of various determinations. So it's not very clear, but yeah. And here psychology, put broadly, you have it's a communication. Maybe then again, the reason why I fail to communicate, maybe it's because sometimes I'm too brilliant. I can be very stupid, but sometimes I'm too brilliant, like this slide, so we cannot see the full communication. Maybe that's a sign. I don't know. Okay, I will stop making stupid remarks like that, because okay. So here you would have psychology proper, although there were already psychological determinations here: personality traits, talent, emotions, and anthropological psychology, namely how one's psyche is determined by his physical features. So you would have the theory of signs, linguistics, grammar, body language. That is what we call classical psychology by modern psychologists: the theory of imagination, memory, the measure of intelligence by IQ test. Here's a connection between the third part and a return to the first. This is when, it's not necessarily chronological, but this is the moment when Geist becomes aware of logic, so to speak. Yeah, and then you have psychology proper, namely ethics, tendencies, emotions, intelligence, etc., etc. Now I will make another transition, and hopefully the zweite und dritte Abteilung will appear. Okay, hopefully it begins now. I have succeeded in adjusting the video. So here's the zweite und dritte Abteilungen des of the dritter Teil, of the third part of the system, and this includes here der objektive Geist, which is how the minds and the spirits of humans are made manifest and present through institutions, whether collective or individual, in a sense that sociologists know that morality is partly a social construct, one might say. It's biologically determined. So in the previous part, morality and ethics were naturally determined. This was tendencies of the soul, and here it's objectivation of the collective life, although it is interiorized, so to speak. So das Recht, here you have the individual theory of law, property rights, contracts, money exchange, and crimes and natural rights of men. Here you have the question, the problem of ethics and good and evil, morality, etc., etc. And here, die Sittlichkeit, it cannot be translated in any other language than German. Sittlichkeit is just Sittlichkeit, and it includes oh God, damn it, it has been, oh, I will have to rewrite this. God fucking damn it. That's technology, the internet, robots, artificial intelligence, big data, transhumanism, yeah. So marriage, education, men and women relationships, law as a collective. Here it's individual rights. Here it's the collective structure of the law, the judicial system, the police, economics, finance, the division of labor, culture in a very narrow sense. Culture encompasses actually also subjective spirit and absolute spirit, but here it's the culture, one would say the bourgeois culture, the way people interact through the mediation of their economic role, so to speak. It's not high culture, it's economic, socio-economic culture, one might say. So here you have technology, the educational system, sociology, the division in various classes, modes of production, the media, and these are the kind of debates that are being talked about daily in the Western world. People talk almost daily everywhere about economic questions, the gender divisions, crime and police, the educational system, the media, etc., etc. So that's the 24th part of a 27-part process, and this is what people are mostly interested in. And they also discuss law and morality or nature, but the debates most of the time in the Western world, they revolve around these topics. Here you have constitution, justice, government, separation of powers, politics, geopolitics, military diplomacy, and history, the unfolding of providence. So each determination is determined by the totality of all the previous determinations, and including those of subjective spirit. So it's more and more concrete, and like I said in the previous video, what happens in the realm of politics or geopolitics is the result of all the previous determinations of the totality of the system. Wissenschaft der Logik, Naturphilosophie, Philosophie des Geistes. Okay. And here, in the dritte Abteilung, the ninth part of that nine, this is the manifestation of absolute spirit, and it reveals itself or made in itself present through art, the revealed religion and philosophy. And art is not disconnected from the political, social, economic life or anthropological life. It is the revelation, the manifestation, the expression. So that's why by studying the art, it can be any art, and there are even more, but by listening to music, for instance, here, by listening to the music produced in the US in the 2010s, you can understand the whole life of the United States of America and the determinations of the author and the people, etc., etc. That's why it's so brilliant and useful, and it can even appease the soul, partly because it enables to understand. By studying the philosophy, the religion, and the art forms of a country, whether in history or in the present, one understands this country because these determinations are the manifestations of the totality of all previous determinations. So, yeah. And what people call God is simply the totality thinking itself. And man is at the center because man is a natural being with a Geist which can think about its own essence. So man would be at the center of the process. And finally, I will, like in my other videos, this is my singular self. I will do that in most of my videos because I have, for now, empirically, I am here. I have nowhere else to go. I have only my mind to conquer myself and conquer reality, one might say. So, yeah. Hopefully the quality of the video has improved, and if you are a follower of my video, you know that quality is quantitatively determined also. So it's because I invested a certain quantitative amount of money into a new camera that I can make the videos shorter, the transition smoother. The quality of the image is quantitative determination of pictures per frame or whatever. So the quality, if it has improved, is quantitatively determined. That's a change of measure. So the quantitative aspect of the camera has changed, which has brought about, hopefully, a qualitative change. And in the long run, or the short term, hopefully it will bring about more viewers who would be able to understand the vision of God, so to speak. So, yeah, let us end the video here.